Alright guys, massive character info for Zenless Zone Zero in today's video. There we have it, the full kit for Ye Shunguang just came in. So in this video, let's do a full breakdown and see what this character is all about as a attack type character with the special attribute called Cold Blade, which is based on the physical element. Ye Shunguang is set to come out as a S rank in the 2.5 version update, but not only that, she's coming out as a brand new Void Hunter, the first one since Miyabi's release in the 1.4 version update all the way up last year. Also, if you guys do enjoy the fast updates on the channel and don't want to miss out on any news about the 2.5 version update, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and put those notifications on to not miss out. I got you guys covered right here on the channel with 24/7 updates. But alright, let's not waste any time and get right into it. We finally have the long-awaited kit for Ye Shunguang. It got delayed for about 1 week, so now let's see if her kit can reflect those crazy animations. Alright, first thing we have the base stats. I'm going to skip over this. We have the Ascension and Talent level up materials for those who want to get ready and pre-farm for this character. I'm most likely going to be doing a proper pre-farm guide once we get all the info on this character, so stay tuned for that. But alright, now we have the actual kit. And as I usually do, I'm gonna head over to the core passive and additional ability first, as that is the main part of a character's kit, and then we can then cover the rest. Alright, now we have the core passive here. After releasing the ultimate or entry skill, Ye Shunguang will enter Sword Stance, gain 4 Sword Will, and activate Ethervel Evil Slayer, lasting up to 12 seconds. While in Sword Stance, Ye Shunguang will use more powerful skills, while also gaining the Sky Force effect. Alright, so one thing we can take away from the first section here is the Sword Stance. The Sword Stance is basically her second form. When you use the entry skill or the ultimate, that is when you'll enter the second form with the white hair. This was both officially teased in the drip marketing, and it does look pretty insane. But now let's keep going here. We have quite a lot for the kit. So when using basic attack in the Sword Stance Earth style third form, and basic attack Sword Stance Earth Secret Art, and basic attack Sword Stance Heaven style third form, as you can see, she has plenty of basic attack, probably the longest basic attack kit I've ever seen in the game. I'll cover that right after. But basically, with all these basic attack, she will consume all these Sky Force effects, and with each stack, this will increase the skill's power by 10%, stacking up to 4 times, which means a total of 40%, lasting until Sword Stance ends. While Ethervel Evil Slayer is active, enemies will be inflicted with Veil Vulnerability, and Stun Damage Multiplier becomes ineffective. The multiplier for this will be equal to the enemy's initial Stun Damage Multiplier, and we have the multiplier cannot exceed 80%, while in Sword Stance, Purification Efficiency against Miasmic Shield is decreased by 30%. Alright, so we just went over her core passive. So far it looks pretty interesting, especially with all the different basic attack forms, the Sword Stance, and the Miasmic Shield that she gains an increase of 30%. That could be really useful as well. Now we have the additional ability, which is triggered with a assist or defense character. Defense character in mind is going to be Xiao, as we are expecting her to be given out for free, and she's looking like a pretty good partner for this character. Now when an ally activates either Veil or an enemy activates Miasmic Field, Ye Shunguang gains the Ready to Strike effect until all either Veil and Miasmic Field effect ends. This effect cannot stack, so basically Ye Shunguang has the Ready to Strike effect. The next time she enters the field in combat, she will consume Ready to Strike and unleash the entry skill, which will then activate the Ethervel Evil Slayer. She will then also enter her second form, which is the Sword Stance, and gain 4 points of Sword Will. Alright, so that was the additional ability and the core passive. Now let's go back to the top here and check out the rest of her kit. So as I mentioned, her basic attack is insanely long. Look at how many we have here. So I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible. So we have the basic attack. The base one perform up to 4 slash attacks, dealing physical damage. When executing the 4th attack, recall all swords on the field and deploy 6 swords. Basic attack Sword Aura. You hold the basic attack to activate. For this, she will rapidly unleash multiple Sword Aura while continuously consuming Sword Will, dealing physical damage. And when hitting enemies, she will increase the crit rate by 2% for 40 seconds, stack up to 5 times. So each time she hits an enemy, she gains 2% crit rate for 48 seconds, goes up to 10%, and she gains 1 stack every 0.1 second. Repeated triggers reset the duration. So this looks like basically a permanent 10% crit rate built into her kit, so pretty good to help her fulfill those crit rate and crit damage requirements. Now we have basic attack Sword Stance Earth. While in Sword Stance and on the ground, you press it, perform up to 2/4, dealing physical damage. When hitting enemies, gain 1 stack of Sky Force effect. We have basic attack Sword Stance Earth style third form. After the second hit of basic attack Sword Stance Earth, you can perform dealing physical damage, and you can launch the Sword Stance Heaven style third form. Upon activating this skill, if hit by an enemy attack, can trigger block effect, so she's able to block. She gains immunity to that damage and gains 2 stacks of Sky Force. We have, when released with Sword Will, performing a large area /forward, dealing massive physical damage. When hitting enemies, consume 1 point of Sword Will and gain 2 stacks of Sky Force. And lastly, for the basic attack, we have the Sword Stance Heaven, which is, while in Sword Stance and in midair, you press the basic attack to activate. Perform up to 2 downward/forward, dealing physical damage, and when hitting enemies, gain 1 stack of Sky Force. Basic attack Sword Stance Heaven style third form. We have perform a plunging attack, dealing physical damage. There's a lot of different combos to this character, so this is going to be, upon activating the skill, if hit by an enemy attack, can trigger blocked effect, gain immunity, and gain 2 stacks of Sky Force. And when released Sword Will, performing a large area plunging attack downward, dealing massive physical damage. And when hitting enemies, consume 1 point of Sword Will, so probably a gauge when she consumes to do these moves, and gains 2 stacks of Sky Force. Meanwhile, consume all Sky Force stacks to increase skill damage. So yeah, she does consume the Sky Force to basically do more skill damage, and with a specific increased scaling with core passive. So yeah, the Sky Force stacks, they did mention it in the core skill. It increases the effects or skill power by 10%, and it can stack up to 4 times, so up to 40% for all her different basic attack. Alright, so we pretty much went over the main part of her kit, but we still have a few things left, like the special attack. So we have the normal special attack, deal physical damage, does a sword aura to attack enemies. After release, can quickly claim into the third hit of basic attack and leave 2 swords on the field. Alright, next up we have the special attack, Sword Stance Up, quickly launch an aerial attack, dealing physical damage. And the X special attack, if there are swords on the field when activated, quickly step on the nearest sword, and after a brief charge, perform a dash slash and sword aura attack against enemies, dealing physical damage. And if no swords are on the field when you activate this, she will quickly chain into the third hit of basic attack and leave 5 swords on the field during the activation, collect swords on the field, converting them into Sword Will. Now we have the EX special attack, Sword Stance Flash. Unleash rapid slashes while consuming Sword Will until it's depleted, and it's going to deal massive physical damage to enemies in a large area. After using this skill, deactivate either Veil, Evil Slayer, and exit Sword Stance. Now we also have the ultimate, which is summon a giant sword, dealing massive physical damage, and after using this skill, deactivates either Veil and the Sword Stance and gain 4 stacks of Sword Will. And one thing I did not notice at the top here is that she does have 2 ultimates. So we have the first ultimate, which is summon a sword and deal massive physical damage, and after using this skill, activates either Veil, Evil Slayer to enter Sword Stance, gain 4 Sword Will, and then both Sword Stance and either Veil, Evil Slayer last for 12 seconds. And that is when she can further obtain the second ult and use the ultimate Sword Stance. So yeah, another double ult character. This character is looking pretty insane. Alright, last thing I want to mention and clarify is the second part of her core passive here. So if I pull this up, so upon activating Ye Shunguang core, the either Veil, both stun and non-stun damage multipliers are entirely disabled. So if you add any buff characters like Dylan, Qingyi, Trigger, they do not apply. Veil damage multiplier currently does not care about the enemy's actual base stun damage multiplier, but when enabled, it will always add 50% plus Veil multiplier for 150%. There's a cap to 180%. So yeah, just to add some quick clarification on the part here of the core passive that says that the stun damage multiplier becomes ineffective. But yeah guys, that is the full Ye Shunguang kit details, and we can for sure expect her to be a pretty crazy character with this much into her kit. You guys let me know down below if you are pulling and hyped for this character. I know I sure am, but this will conclude all the full Ye Shunguang kit, for now at least, until we get more changes, like the more changes to the mindscapes. But that will conclude all for today, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.